The Hot Rod Ghost. Willie Walls' grave is up in the cemetery with a marker that says he died on Halloween, 1959, at the ripe old age of 18. He met his demise just about the witching hour in that souped-up Mercury on US 11 in a drag race with a boy from Chandler Mountain. He crashed into the big oak tree at the Y, and it still bears those scars. Willie crashed into that tree at 110 miles an hour, and they say the fireball could be seen from a mile away. After that, Willie Walls became a legend, a ghost on this old stretch of highway, appearing out of nowhere, chasing unsuspecting travelers, frightening them out of their wits in that spectral car with its bright headlights glowing like evil eyes and the rumbling engine. They say the car glows with some ethereal light, and fire belches from the tailpipes. And there'll be Willie at the wheel with his dove-tailed hair and his James Dean face so ghostly pale by the dashboard's glow. Joe Spence didn't believe in ghosts until 1964 on that Halloween night after driving his girlfriend home from the dance. But he was a believer after that, and he's reminded every time he looks in the mirror at his snowy white hair. He'll tell you, Willie Walls may be buried in that cemetery up there, but he still takes that old hot rod out for a spin. Joe headed home after he dropped his girlfriend off that night behind the wheel of his '57 Chevy with the radio blaring and the windows down. He was cruising south when he saw bright headlights come up fast behind, and for a minute he thought it might be the police, but this was no police car. The long, low black Mercury oozed up beside him into the oncoming lane, glowing greenish from what seemed like some ethereal force, and he could feel the rumble of that engine, and he could smell the acrid air of the burning rubber. He slowed as he came up even with the door and stared into the pale, ghostly face peering back at him from sunken eyes. And Joe let out a gasp, and he veered away from the car with a turn of the wheel. But the Mercury bumped him door to door, and Joe could not pull away as both cars bounded forward. Joe popped the clutch and cursed as the Mercury shot out ahead, fire belching from the rear. But suddenly the Chevy shot forward on its own. 80, 85, 90, 95, 100 miles an hour headed toward the Y and the girth of that big old oak tree. Sure that he was about to die, Joe braced himself. He heard the anguished squeal of the tires and the screech of broken metal and glass as the Mercury slammed into the tree once again, bursting into an atomic-sized fireball that lit up the sky. Joe's Chevy sat sideways in the road, hands locked in a death grip on the steering wheel, his eyes clutched and his face drained of all color as he heard the sirens approaching. And an officer walked up to the car. "Are you okay?" he asked. Joe opened his eyes. "I saw him," he said as he stared into the officer's face. "I saw Willie Walls, and I raced him back to the tree." After a while, Joe had calmed down enough to drive home. He drove into his own driveway. He hurried into his house, into his very own room, and closed the door. He was still shaking as he lay down on the bed and fell into a deeply troubled sleep. He was awakened next morning by his mother's screams when she saw that her teenage son's hair had turned snowy white overnight. He knew Willie Walls was to blame. Joe Spence will be the first to admit he won't drive a car at night any longer, especially on US 11 South near the old oak tree where Willie Walls met his demise.